Important things was I asked Danny, I said, do you want me to do separately or together? And there was a pause. He said, Coach, we were always together. And I said, that tells you something right away about these two guys who are very special to me and to their family. But one of the stories that came across my internet was first week of class. Remember, I spent time getting these two young, trying to help these two young come to Padua, working with Mr. and Mrs. Smoxer, spending time in their house, trying to convince them, these two 5'1", 100, probably not even 100-pound athletes to come to Padua rather than go to St. Ignatius. And it was quite a struggle. We were very blessed to get them. But the first week of class, here they are. They're sitting in the back room of Father Justin, our music teacher. Now, there's some friars in here that know Father Justin. We all love Father Justin, but Father Justin was oblivious to the world once he started teaching music. These two were sitting in the last row. Well, when the class ended, they were sitting in the first row. They had crawled all the way under the desk to the front of the row, and they were sitting in the front row, just sitting there. The gentleman that sent me that one said, Coach, they were generally really screw-offs their freshman year. I said, really? Another story that came about was the scrapbooks. They would keep scrapbooks of themselves in their lockers and compare whose was bigger. I had breakfast this morning with a Padua alum whose sons have all gone to Padua, and one's still going to Padua, and he told me he was in grade school coming to Padua, and he remembers reading the Plain Dealer every day. There was something about the sponsors. I said, that's true, they cut it out too. Mine's bigger than yours. We talk about that. We want to talk about constant banter back and forth. Now, these are not two quiet gentlemen. Now, they can talk. And one of the ones I always remember, I remember this, who was smarter than the other? Okay, I'm smarter than you, I'm smarter than you. But of course, when the grades came out every 6 weeks, that would be, and we'd hear about it. All of the guys on the bus, when we're traveling the game, we'd hear about, I had a 1.1, you had 1.6. I think there really was a triplet there. We just don't know who it is. The incessant arguing. I remember this. Arguing. You'd get on the bus and we could grab, and I'd grab, the coach would drive the bus to the games in those days. See, Tony, I don't know if you have to do that, but that's a privilege we all had. Tom would tell you that. We'd drive the bus to games and the constant arguing on the bus. That was a hit. No, that was, because they used to fight over batting averages. That was a hit. No, wasn't a hit. So we finally got to the point, we eventually set up a rule, and Verdi and Horanzi, you might remember this too, and the other guys, we'd have a vote on the bus. The rest of the team, they couldn't vote. The rest of the team would vote, hit or no hit. And it became a custom. That's what we did for years, error or no error. The other thing that we remembered, and it crossed my mind when I saw in the yearbook in 1970 that they were considered the best dressed. And that's when I went into I got sick. They used to go to a store, I think it was called Jerry Mills Store. And the junior, senior, Coach Verba, God rest his soul, great man. Coach Verba would make them dress when they're in varsity basketball, and I did the same thing baseball. And they would have the most outlandish outfits. One, they didn't dress alike then. Purple striped pants, wide white belt, alligator shoes, pink French puff shirts, orange ties, top it off with a fur coat. Jerry Mills. And then they have their picture in the yearbook by your best dressed. Horanzi, Verdi, you voted for them in that? Or we talk about one of them rolling over the car. Volkswagen rolled out of Hinkley because he was trying to rush back to baseball practice because Father Lou had the seniors could get out early. Okay, he'd go out and play 9 holes of golf and try to run back to baseball practice. He rolls the car, comes into baseball practice all damaged up. The car, I don't know ever what happened to him. read in there that they're both class reps as freshmen. I thought, oh boy, that was a bad class. And I did notice this, they were never elected again. One of them, I'm not going to tell you which one was in the chess club. That would have been something else. Okay. About 2 years after graduation, a couple of their buddies are at a ball game. They're not with these two. And it happens to be the famous, and we all know from the famous beer night. The famous beer night. And they're sitting in the stands. These guys are paddle guys sitting in the stands. They were good guys. They were sitting in the stands, saying the rosary. They were saying the rosary. And they look out as the game got out of hand. And they look and they see somebody slide in and steal second base. And literally pick up second base and steal second base. You can see children, grandchildren. I'm not going to tell you which one it was.
Oh my gosh.
Then or do we talk about both being all scholastic? So in baseball, in basketball, leading our teams to 3 Crown Conference championships in baseball and 1 in basketball, 2 district championships in baseball and 1 in basketball. We can talk about that. Both starters on teams like that. We talk of them being described by opponents and read in the papers, twin killers, or a friend of mine who lives like less than a mile away from me down in North Carolina, who coached at St. Ed's, was their baseball coach. He called them the 2 little white rats. No, those aren't the things we talk about. I want to talk about 2 young guys who chose to come to Padua. Basically a new school, if you remember. They came in 1966. We were just 3 years old. From Ignatius, from St. Boniface, and to help us set a tradition, which is something we have now. Sitting in their house, you knew that there was something special about them. First of all, the way they learn, and just their demeanor, their attention. When it's time to get serious, they got serious. They chose to come to Padua, and we were a better school because of it. I think the school that began to develop a tradition in both the sports that they happen to play, baseball and basketball. Smart players. And I've coached a lot of players over 45 years. 2 of the smartest players, seriously, I've ever coached. I mean, quick story from baseball. Guys on first base, playing a team. These 2 are shortstop and second baseman. The guy hits a ground ball to first baseman. Of course, the opponent guy runs from first to second base. Danny or David, doesn't matter which one, go over to him and say, foul ball, you go back to first base. It wasn't foul ball. He goes back to first base. Tough guys. One of the great stories I remember, because it's St. Ed's and it's such a bitter rival at that time, they had a guy that was from the west side there, a kid named Dave Mooney, who chose not to go to Padua, went to St. Ed's. Big time pitcher. Good pitcher. Fastball pitcher. Playing us at Padua. Danny would lead off and David would bat second. Don't ask me why we did that. I think Danny wanted to lead off, David bat second. They argued about it, they discussed it, and we settled on that. That's how it worked. Danny's standing up there, they're switch hitters, and Mooney threw a pitch behind Danny's back. Warming up. And there's John. Of course, they were not the quietest guys. They jogged right back at Mooney. First pitch of the ball game, Danny rifles one in the alley. He's standing on third base. He's John away. So now David comes up. The first pitch, David puts it over the fence. It's 2-0. We beat him 10-3. I looked up the score. Tough, smart. Guys that played with him were proud to play with him because they were proud of their teammates. But they demanded from their teammates what they did. Nobody worked harder. They played the game hard. These guys used to get out of school early on their senior year, but even before the junior year, if they got out early, and we played a 7 o'clock game or 8 o'clock game, they would go down to Esserbrook. We don't know what to do this. And play basketball. Not shoot around, Lou. They'd play basketball games from 2:30 to 3 o'clock to 5:30 or 6 o'clock jump back in the car, come back out, put on this outrageous outfits they wore, and then come into the game. Just love to play the game. Love to play hard. One of them broke his wrist. I don't remember which one. Picked the cast off. Doctor said you can play when the cast is ready to come off. Picked it off. Played. You know, I've been blessed in my career to coach a lot of players, a lot of great players, people who work very hard at their profession. But these are truly two of the greatest competitors, and I mean that I've ever coached. They inspired that competitiveness in their teammates. The rivalry between each other, which is loving and caring, carried over to their teammates, carried over to me. Their ability to lead by example, and they're so important to what they would give to the rest of their teammates in battle. At this time, I would like to informally introduce two of the toughest, smartest, most driven, hardworking athletes I've ever known, the Smosser twins, Dan and Dave Smosser. Thank you, Coach. Yeah, I'm playing with age. I don't know who you're talking about at the time, Coach.